37, and it's from the Message. After Jesus' conversation with the religious scholar about the great commandments, love God and love neighbor, the scholar, looking for a loophole, had another question. And just how would you define neighbor? Jesus answered by telling a story. There was once a man traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho. And on the way, he was attacked by robbers. They took his clothes and beat him up and went off, leaving him half dead. Luckily, a priest was on his way down the same road, but when he saw him, he angled across to the other side. Then a Levite religious man showed up, and he also avoided the injured man. A Samaritan traveling the road came on him, and when he saw the man's condition, his heart went out to him. He gave him first aid and disinfected and bandaged his wounds. Then he lifted him onto his donkey and led him to an inn and made him comfortable. In the morning, he took out 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, "Take good care of him. If it costs any more, put it on my bill. I'll pay you on my way back." What do you think? Which of these 3 became a neighbor to the man attacked by the robbers? The one who treated him kindly, the religion scholar responded. Jesus said, "Go and do the same."
Another familiar story, full of new meaning every time we hear it. This is our 4th Sunday, it is, in our Lenten series, Engaging with Racism, as we explore our own racism and how racism affects our lives. This morning the word is affirmation. We're going in this trajectory from tolerance through solidarity to critique. And this morning we're going to talk about affirmation. And I have to say, when you Google affirmation, you go to a whole lot of junk. It's all about personal affirmations, you know, in this, what was the guy on Saturday Night Live? Stuart Smalley. I'm a good person. That's not to say that self-affirmation is not a good thing, but I was kind of amazed at the number of things that were just surface issues with affirmation. For us, I'd like us to count that affirmation means a positive statement or action. Positive statement or action which assigns value. That's an important piece, that we are assigning value when we make this positive statement or action. While the story of the Good Samaritan seems to be one of affirmation from a number of different perspectives. You know the story, there's somebody walking down the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. He gets robbed, beaten, mugged, and left by the side of the road. The priest comes by and steps aside, keeps on going. The Levite does the same thing. The Samaritan stops and helps him and takes him to an inn, goes overboard to take care of him. If you don't know the cultural context of this story, you miss the point, one of the points, big time. So, who is a Samaritan? Samaritans were a different people looked down upon big time by the Jews. So this man was your worst enemy to the man lying in the ditch. The one you least expect to stop is the one who actually stops. Now there's all kinds of issues around this. We had a great discussion in Bible study on Wednesday that lasted for quite a long time. And also we talked about it on Thursday night at our sacred conversation on this. There are all kinds of issues of cleanliness for a priest to touch blood, that would make him unclean. So one reason the priest might have gone around. It seems to me that Jesus is saying, forget the law. Take care of the guy. Now think about if you were the person in the ditch and you kind of come to, and a person who you hate is taking care of you. What would your feeling? That's why I like this picture. Because the person who's caring is someone different. What would your feeling be? It would be maybe horrified. Is he going to kill me? Yeah. It would make you wonder. So I encourage you to spend time with this. We don't have enough time this morning to go into all the aspects of this. But reread this story at home and think about placing yourself in the person of each of the characters in the story. For me, this affirmation that the other, the different one, is important is at the top of the list of this story. Both directions, for the Samaritan to help someone he hates, and for the person being helped to let the person he hates help him. It's a powerful, powerful message. It was interesting, though, on Thursday night, something that I hadn't really connected with. The question raised by our guest, Reverend Linda Jaramillo, was, what about the systems that allowed that man to be attacked? Okay, we know what systems are, right? And I'm talking about the large picture system, that structure in society which has embedded in it the racism, the ageism, the sexism, all those isms. And if we're going to move forward, we don't need to just change ourselves. We need to change the system. Now, this is not easy. And we've seen recently in our political arena, I don't even know what to say. It's just heartbreaking. The kinds of things that are being said that support the system which oppresses. And it's up to us. One of the least things we can do is vote and make our voices heard. But somehow, if we can find ways that by how we interact with people, how we interact with the system, we can bring about the systemic changes, which is what needs to happen. It's like when you go to the doctor, it's not just about the symptoms, it's about the cause. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. The symptom would be racism. The cause is something embedded in this cultural system. A lot to think about when you go home today, and I'm counting on you, all right? All right? Good. Robert and I have become fans of the show that Henry Louis Gates Jr. has, Finding Your Roots. And we watched one, it's a couple of weeks old, I think, but we watched it last night. And it was Finding the Roots for LL Cool J and Sean Combs, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, that guy. And it was so interesting, especially with African American people. If their ancestors were slaves, it's hard to track them because their last name was often the name of the slave owner. So the records are, usually they don't even have names, they just have gender and age on these lists. Fascinating, fascinating thing. So they were having some trouble getting through, not just for that reason, but for a number of reasons. Adoptions that aren't documented clearly. It's hard to see where the line goes. But one of the things in this particular episode was they relied on genetic information to discover the history of both of these men. And toward the very end of the show, he says, "We are all cousins." And that so resonated with me, to dig through all the things that are different about us but at the root, we all come from the same place. And one of the things Ancestry is doing, Ancestry.com, is finding all the people in an area that have this cousin gene and inviting them. So they have these big groups of people, and each one has a sign that says, "I'm a cousin." And I think that's kind of cool. So I want you all to say now, "I'm a cousin."
I'm a
I'm a
cousin.
cousin. We are related, friends. We are related. Even if the color of our skin is different, we are related. So it behooves us to spend some time thinking of ways that we can help the system learn that message. The system which seems to live on fear and teaching us that we have to be afraid of difference and not connect. So as you think about affirmation today, think of those positive words and actions you can do that can help bring that systemic change so that we can indeed understand we are cousins.